Okay, I'm going to talk about pump wedges. What is a pump wedge? It's that black thing in the middle. Set a degree on it, tapers up. So I'll put it in the right position so you can get an idea what it looks like. So what's it actually doing? It's kicking the tail end up. And why would you do that? The reason you're doing that is because you're trying to lift the nose of the jet ski to have less in the water, because water is drag. So they usually got dowels, but as you can see, when it goes on, you're going to have to adjust the steering, the trim nozzle. I've modified these things like crazy. I've ported them, I've bought them. This one's a really rough one. It's had a lot of damage, and I've modified it that much and gone bigger, gone smaller, and changed props. And anyway, got videos about that. I wouldn't go mucking around with the standard one, just leave it alone. Maybe chamfer these a little bit, tape, like sharpen them up a bit, cut them back, trim them a little bit if you want, but don't go too crazy. Smooth it out like as much as you can. But this is one I've just modified, and yeah, it's gone. Anyway, so basically more angle, so it's lifting the nose more. But I have run one on the VXR. I don't recommend them really if you start to go serious with it. It mucks up too much things like having a passenger. I recommend it for an EX or a Spark, Sudo Spark, or maybe a 15F. 15F pretty fast, Kawasaki. So when you start talking about the NAs and you're talking about under like 70 mile an hour, I'd definitely look for something like this, a pump wedge, to get it going quicker. But it's no good without doing the ride plate. You need to angle the ride plate to sort of get the rhythm going. Like if the back's going to kick up, you want the front to kick up. So you want it like a bit of a bow. So you want the back of the ride plate to come up, or machine it. I'll do another video on that. So if you don't do both, you're wasting your time. You need to get the nose up more. And how they do that is with the ride plate and with this. But if you're going over 70 mile an hour, they don't run this pump wedge. And there's a few reasons for it. Alright. One, the thrust is not going into the water anymore. It's partly sort of going in, but partly not. But because it raises the front so much, you really don't notice that. Alright. But when you start making serious horsepower, you want all that horsepower to hit the water. So what actually happens, I'll show you in a demonstration. It's a bit dodgy, but hopefully you get something out of it and, you know, see what's happening. Sorry about all the crap here in the background. That's my dad. He tinkers with stuff more than me. Oh, probably on path. So that's the jet nozzle, that's the back of the hull. Okay. And what actually happens, where it is pushing now, it'll actually try to kick the nose up on the hull. Yeah? If you raise it to here, it wouldn't lift the nose as much, yeah? Well, here's the thing, when you start lifting the nose like this, alright, you're not actually pushing directly, you're not pushing on the bottom anymore, you're pushing here, you're pushing the ski forward. You need serious horsepower to start lifting the nose. Alright, or you run a wedge and you change your ride plate, but like I said, your water is not hitting the water coming out of the jet is not hitting the water behind you as much because it's kicked up. It's not, unless you can really lift that nose. And when you've got a heap of horsepower, you pretty much run no wedge. And why? Because when you accelerate, it lifts the nose because it's pushing on the lower point of the hull, if that makes sense. So when you're pushing, it lifts. It's like leverage. So when you come up to here and you're pushing, you're just pushing straight. You're not lifting the nose. And that's why they go away from a wedge. But when you're underneath that speed and you haven't got the horsepower, this is what you go for. Like an NA. Definitely run a wedge if you're under 70 mile an hour. It's time to run it. But you're going to have to do the rod plate, and I'll have a look at that and show you. Hopefully this makes sense, where you're pushing on the hull. And if I was to push it now, from here, it goes like that. If I was to push from the bottom, see the front come up? That's exactly what you're doing with the nozzle. So, on the Sea-Doo, I have noticed, when they do run along the water, that you don't see the thrust coming out. On a Yamaha, you see this big weight coming out the back. And that's because they got the thrust down really low. They've sorted a few things out with that. They got it deeper in the hull, deeper in the V. The hull's more V. And Kawasaki's the same, but Yamaha don't seem to do that. But anyway. Hopefully it all makes sense and comes together for you. But you do need to adjust the steering and everything on it. Sometimes you got to get up behind the steering, actually underneath the dash there, and extend it up there to make up for the extra length when you pack it out. So I'm not knocking these things, they do work. Well, but when you start going a bit quicker than 70 mile an hour, I'll get away from them. They're very common in the 90s and that on the 2-stroke. So if you're running like a 3-cylinder, smaller motor, aspirated, I'd definitely lean to this. And look, I had a lot of fun with it. I've got a lot of speed out of it. But I've gone past this point now, and you know, things change as you're mucking around with stuff. But very happy with the pump wedge, the way it works. It was awesome. Anyway, anything you want to know, let me know. But that you're interested in finding out something. But I've tried heaps of things, silly things. See into the hole to make it go faster. Oh, changed it, polished it. Anyway, there's so much to learn on a jet ski and boat. Hopefully, you get something from this, and if you get some big results, let me know. Awesome, thank you.